Good evening.
Good evening, Professor Golden.
Hey, how are you?
Doing pretty well. Good. How about yourself?
Okay, hanging in there after some good football, some good food, and not as much rest as I'd like, but I'll take 2 out of 3.
Not a bad ratio.
Yeah, how's it going with you all?
No, I can't complain.
Okay, all right.
Short work
Busy.
week.
Say that again.
It's busy.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, I'm here at on College Park campus, and I got a class at 7:30, so I figured I'd get over here a little earlier. When we had our last session, I was at the home office. Classes hadn't started yet, so got here a little earlier so that we could hang out. So let's go on and get to it. Thanks for being able to make it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you got your feedback from from your first elevator pitch. So what are your thoughts?
I thought it was as much prep as I put into it. I thought it was even more, it was still more difficult than I was expecting, kind of. And I think part of it was just like speaking to a camera as opposed to kind of speaking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot to think about while I was trying to prep for that in terms of what I wanted to do, in terms of, how I wanted to speak, what exactly I wanted to say, how I kind of wanted to present myself during that. So it was quite an interesting learning process with that.
Okay. And Ms. Crandall?
It was complicated. I have no problem talking to someone about anything. And somehow I was talking to my computer screen and I just could not maybe it was like I could not connect with someone because I was trying to connect with myself, and it was a lot more, like as he was saying, it was a lot more difficult than I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of probably going through the next assignment that I might get someone to either like sit behind my computer screen or get a friend or something like that so that I can have that human interaction, because it was quite frustrating to myself of like I can't talk to myself, but I have
Right.
no problem talking to someone else.
Right, I understand. Well, yeah, and that's not an uncommon challenge for some folks. But if I remember it well, you all did pretty good. And I think part of that too is, again, although these sessions are optional, I chose to have them to provide help provide a deeper understanding and give you all an opportunity to ask questions. This is the main reason why I have these. Now, I understand, people's work schedules. I understand people being out of the country and all of that stuff. So this is one of the reasons why I record the sessions and post them in the student lounge. So in case you can't make it, you have an opportunity to review. But I think in my review of all of the elevator pitches, I would say half of them, which to me was kind of disappointing, they didn't even follow the script. They didn't even follow the script. And I know I mentioned it in the last recording. I also posted it as well. And so it was there. And, as you all know, all you had to do was internalize the script and personalize the script. And you have an introduction, So what that tells me is some of the students who did not do that, they didn't even look in the student lounge, which I made an announcement, and they did not even look in the announcements where I attached the actual visual aids, which had the script. So, but we have another opportunity here. And I just want to reiterate, and I'm just saying that for those who do take an opportunity to listen to this. There's a script. There's a script. I have posted it in the announcements. It's available. Also, posting a link versus uploading a video. And the reason why I ask students to do that is because when you upload a file, you got to download a file. And sometimes they don't download. You know what I mean? And they can get corrupted and unviewable. So it's easier to just click on a link and view and evaluate. Go from there. So that's the main logic behind that. And I think also it's a good strategy to do if you are in this brave new world that we're living in, with COVID, to be able to send a link to someone versus a file. Because, that's hard to do, sending that via email and this and that or whatever, because sometimes they don't mail, they don't travel well. So, I'm kind of trying to teach multiple things here. But that said, let me give you a few other pointers. Now, some of them you have already exhibited, but I'm saying this for the general class, so please forgive me if I sound a little redundant. So for the next presentation, the elevator pitch redo, work to strengthen your eye contact, looking at the camera, because what I tend to do sometimes, I'll imagine that there's 1,000 people out there, and we got to put on our imaginary hat sometimes, but I understand, the feeling of not having someone live and with all the trimming. So, make the eye contact. If you're sitting down, sit up. If you're standing up, that's cool. Be mindful of your posture and make sure that it's waist high. I always like standing if you can, but sometimes I understand the room situation doesn't dictate that. Okay, and that's okay. But if you're gonna sit down, at least sit up. Be mindful of your gestures. I want gestures because it adds to the overall expression. And given that our nonverbal communication is 60 to 80% nonverbal, we need to have all of that in our arsenal. And yes, it is an introduction. And you have to, that's why I gave a script. Just 90% of the script, just follow 90% of it. And like I said, use your own personalities. You all were very impressive, I have to say. Okay, so the next elevator pitch is due on by September the 14th. Okay, September the 14th at by 11:59. So please remember to post the link. You've already had one try at it. You might be asking yourself, well, what else can I do? What else can I do better? There's always something that you can do better. So maybe it's in the eye contact, maybe it's in the gestures, maybe it's in personalizing more of the script. You're having a conversation. That's really at the end of the day. And those are the best presentations, those that have embodied conversations. Okay, any questions or anything on this? All right, well, as the old saying go, continue to go out there and kill it, guys. All right, so let's dive into the informative briefing, because this will be coming up next, and this is due on by the 21st, Tuesday 21st. Okay, so the first thing about this is, one, there's no visual aid required. Okay, so that's a good thing. I believe the first one time frame is 3 to 4 minutes. Now, you have no excuse to go over or under that time because, hey, you're home. You can time yourself, but nothing beats practice. Now, you get to pick the topic, something that you're passionate about, okay? Something that not only you're passionate about, but ask yourself the question and think about your other peers here in the class. Is this something that my audience, will want to listen to? Because if we were in person, you'd be talking to them, okay? So think about something you're passionate about, and is this something that they would be interested in? One of the key things I always say with any presentation, informative, group, or persuasive, you ask yourself the question, WIIFM, which is that acronym for what's in it for me. WIIFM. Always ask yourself, what's in it for me? And that's, in other words, with the audience. And it's the beginning of an audience analysis, which helps you to provide a snapshot of who you're talking to. This is one of the very first things that you do when you're preparing a speech, an audience analysis, because you can have a lot of people who give good, awesome presentations, but they're giving it to the wrong audience. You know what I mean? And so it makes no difference. So one of the first questions you have to ask yourself is, what is it that they want to hear from me? Why am I giving this presentation? Very first question. Next question, how many people am I talking to? You don't want to have 20 people in your head and 200 show up. It happens because that dictates how conversational you can be and how much time you have. And speaking of that, how long am I supposed to talk? Now, I'm sure we all have sat in presentations where people have gone on and on and on, and they lost your attention. As a culture, we Americans, we have short attention spans. Let's just call it what it is. Okay, so you can't just go on and on and on. So you understand how long you're supposed to talk. Things such as, how am I supposed to dress? What's the occasion? You don't want to go somewhere and people are, dressed to the nines and you're wearing your jeans and t-shirts, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. And so, those are some of the questions initially that goes into an audience analysis. And I'll post a document just for you to have so that you can understand this, because you have different things that you have to think about. Demographics, as well as the psychological portion of answering an audience analysis, and contextual. So we can talk about that a little later, but I want to get right into this thing called informative presentations. So as I said, this is a 3 to 4 minute talk, okay, on something that you are passionate about. And I am going to seek to share a document with you. All right. Can you see the document? Oops, got rid of it. Let's see here. There we go. All right. So informative presentations. And the bottom line is, you have an opportunity to introduce a new idea to your audience, instruct or demonstrate to your audience a how-to presentation, or even explain a detailed or complicated information. Now, you have to pick what you choose to do. You can introduce a new idea, you can instruct or demonstrate to the audience a how-to. Like for instance, I had one student in a virtual class, just like you all, he demonstrated from his home how to make the perfect steak. And it was awesome. I mean, you would have thought it was a show. I mean, dude had his bourbon lined up and had the seasoning and the steak already seasoned. And he talked through it while he was cooking the steak and how to prepare the steak and everything. And, of course, he had an after picture because he could only talk for so long. So he showed what it looked like afterwards and everything. And it was really awesome. Or I've had a student or two show how to make a TikTok video, So the sky's the limit. But now you have 4 types of informative speeches. One of awareness, one of explanation, one of demonstrations, and presentations that compare. So let's take a deeper dive into the awareness. Bottom line is, you're making the audience aware of an event, person, place, or thing. For example, inexpensive places to stay while on vacation. you're making them aware of that. Places that have, especially given these times, provide a good example on how to, whether they masked up or not, whether it's 90% of the people or people don't at all. Okay, well, stay away from that, right? A presentation of explanation. For those of you who are more of scientific bent, you can explain something in a deeper concept, complex, scientific, financial, environmental, or even technical. Now, I will say this, if you go this route, what we have to understand as communicators is not everyone understand it to the level of detail that you may understand it. And what makes the good speakers, separate the good speakers from the not so good speakers are those who can take complicated topics and break it down to an audience, to a way that your audience can understand. So, if you explain a big word or whatever, tell them what that word means. You know what I mean? So kind of keep that in mind for those of you who are more on the scientific side or technical side or financial. Demonstrations, already talked about that, but bottom line is you explain to the audience how to do something. Sky's the limit with that one. Speeches that compare. Well, hey, what's the advantage of an online class versus an in-person class? And why you may want to consider, but here's the information that I'm giving to you to help make that choice. And also, you can also have a presentation that includes some of these, a couple of these, all of them. They can overlap, given the time that you have. Comments or questions on what I just shared with you there?
Can you post some of your best speeches that you think you have seen so we can get an example of kind of what we're trying to accomplish?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I can take a look and see. I'm pretty sure I got one handy. I can show to you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay. All right, so we're doing virtual presentations. No joke. So there are two types of virtual presentations. You got the asynchronous ones and you got the synchronous. Synchronous, of course, are live. Asynchronous is what you post via your link or whatever. Now, the two advantages of one, in basic sense, with the synchronous, you have the opportunity to, deal with Q&A, deal with the Q&A. That's kind of it at the end of the day. With the asynchronous, you can play that back and forth over and over again to get some kind of understanding, develop a deeper understanding if needed. Okay, some things you may want to be conscious of. Now, you all, I haven't had this problem with you all. You want to get the lighting right, okay? You want to make sure that people can see you. The best lighting, the preferred situation is to have the light in front of you versus behind you, because that casts like a glow into the camera and makes seeing you sometimes kind of hard. And make sure that you have enough lighting. I never forget this one student, and it probably was the best that he could do, but it was so dark in his room, all I could see was his eyes and his teeth, which made it kind of hard to evaluate him. Choose the right background. Be cognizant of what's behind you, because people will tend to focus on what's behind you instead of you. And you want them to focus on that. Now with that, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you all have in your background, those are cool. But I've seen laundry, messed up beds, I've seen all kinds of stuff. Another point is learn the technology if you're going to use the technology. Now you have multiple means to do your recordings. You can use, of course, Zoom. You can use Vimeo. You can use YouTube. You can use Google. I forgot the technology because I shouldn't have last semester, but sometimes when you don't use that stuff, it don't take long to forget it. But also too, play to the camera, look into the camera as much as possible, and keep it at a good level. Sometimes people don't, they have it too low and all you can see up their nose, all of that. But try to keep it at a reasonable level if possible. Don't get too close to the camera. Kind of keep it at a reasonable distance. So, you have to kind of play with it and check with it before you do that. Before I signed on, I wanted to kind of, before I let you all in, I wanted to kind of see how things, would look. This is my first time using this room in a virtual capacity. So I had to decide where I was going to sit and everything else. So it worked out. Comments or questions on what I just shared with you? Okay. All right. Some other tips for your next virtual presentation. If possible, you've heard me, stand up, maybe get waist high. Again, if you can't, the room will dictate that, or you don't even want to, that's fine. Just make sure that your posture is right. Either way, do a sound check. Make sure that we can hear you. Record a practice one and make sure that your sound is good. And I know this is kind of hard because you all expressed this, but you got to imagine that you're talking to a few people. Engage your participants, all right? Play to the screen and be yourself, enjoy yourself, have a little fun. It's not as, well, I shouldn't say that, but you done got your feet wet now. So let your personality shine through. Be you, do you. Okay, so we talked about the audience analysis. We already hit you up with this and everything, so I'm not gonna bore you with this. So any comments or questions? All right. Now, while I look for this other video, down the road here, our next session will be on, hold on a second, I think I had Monday, but let me see if it's not Monday. The 21st is on a Tuesday. So that's a couple of weeks from now. All right. And we will be talking about persuasive talks. And this is a little bit more complicated and more detailed than the informative talks. And you will get to choose a topic that you're passionate about. Now, while I look for the video, I want to talk to you about topics. Pick an interesting topic. Okay, please don't pick a, like I had one student, okay, what are you gonna talk about? Climate change. Okay, I get that. Climate change is a thing. But, okay, so what's the title? Climate change. Well, that's really inventive. Okay, fine. Let me cover one other thing too before I show you this, show you a brief video. And I want you to know that I made this available for you. I will be making it available to you. This is an outline to help get you started here. Can everyone see it okay? All right. And the reason why I think it's always a good idea to have an outline is because it's kind of like a roadmap and it lets you know where you're going. You're planning this thing out. So some of the components of this, I'm not going to go through all of these, but your topic, the purpose of your talk. What is the purpose, specific purpose of your speech? Again, example, you want to educate us on climate change. You want to educate us on, I don't know, where the coronavirus came from. I'm just saying, you want to educate us on something. Now, the attention getter. Now, did I talk to you about the different ways on how to open a presentation? Well, let's go through it again, or let's go through it for the purpose of not only you, but anyone who may listen. There's several ways that you want to get your audience attention. One, you can open with a story. We love stories. We grew up on stories. You can open with a question, a direct or indirect question. You can open with a quotation. Now, if you choose to open with a quote, make sure that you learn that quote, okay? You can open with a statement. You can open with a statistic. You can also open with a video that demonstrates something. Or you can open with a line of humor. Now, if you're not that funny, don't go there, okay? All right, if you're not that funny, don't try that at home. Next in here, you want to put in your core message. You know, what's your thesis? What's the core? Because everything else, all the main points are going to go around that core. And then the preview, your main points go here. Example, today we're going to talk about climate change. We're also going to talk about how did we get here. And last, we'll talk about what can we do to help make it better, to solve it, okay? So something like that. You're giving your audience a preview of what you're going to talk about, what to expect. And then you transition into your first point. So let's talk about climate change and go into that. And then your next transition. Let's talk about how did we get there? And then last, what can we do to solve it? What can we do to make it better? So, and the reason why I select 3, because the number 3 is a very powerful number. And 1, it helps your audience retain your message. You know, when you repeat things 3 times, it helps your audience to retain your message. And it's, like I said, it's a powerful number. This number has been around since biblical times, right on up through medieval times, right on up into current times, popular culture, religion, government, everything. Perfect example, mind, body, and spirit. Government, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Safety, stop, drop, and roll. Popular culture and movies, sex, lies, and videotape. You know, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Other stories, 3 little pigs, 3 blind mice, religion, 3 wise men, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's been used throughout history, and it helps you to remember. So consider developing in your body 3 main points. Now you can populate this sheet and put your presentation in there. Don't have to be one big narrative. You can section it off, attention getter, blah, blah, blah. This is a core message, you know, a preview. You can section it off like that. So now you have something structured that you can look at and you know what you're talking about. And you can practice it and make adjustments to it. Okay, going down to the conclusion. You're going to review the main points that you shared. You're going to remind us of what you talked about. So in the conclusion, I told you about climate change. I also told you about how we got here. And I also told you about what we can do. And then your closing statement. If we do such and such and such, we can improve the earth, you know, for everyone, kind of thing. And then in this sheet, you can even put your references, your research. So research your topic, because it will be my expectation, please take note, that you orally cite your sources. So for example, according to the World Health Organization, according to the National Weather Service, according to, I don't know, CNN, it is said that a lot of the Amazon is on fire, you know, and the Amazon is known as the lungs of the earth. And I've heard that said. And so, because the reason why you want to orally cite your sources is because it gives your talk credibility. You understand? It's not coming from my cousin Benny. It's coming from credible sources. But going down here to the references, in your sheet, you can use either MLA or APA or even Chicago style to say just do your homework there. So I will have this and make this available for you as well. Okay, any comments on questions on what I just shared with you? Oh man, you all are awesome. You are making my job easy. All right, let me see here. I have a video that I would love for you to hear, and just give me a second to get it, because I have them in different places when they should all be in the same place. Just a second. I know one thing, this holiday weekend went by too fast. I remember Friday, and then it was Monday night. It seemed like.
Were you partying a little bit too much?
No, not really. I wish. Well, no, not really. I didn't want to, I was afraid to party because I didn't want it to go by so fast.
I slept through mine.
Oh God, I'm so jealous of you. I wish my ideal situation was to binge watch something, you know what I mean? Go to sleep, wake up, binge watch some more, eat, go to sleep, wake up, get a couple workouts in, and just cruise right on into Tuesday, you know what I mean?
One way to do it.
Huh?
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Where am I?
Did you find anything to binge watch when you were binging?
You want to know what I ended up binge watching? The freaking news.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the historical channel.
No. Binge watch the freaking news. That's
you need to go watch Breaking Bad. Oh, that's a good one to go binge.
Oh yeah, I started it, but I didn't finish it.
Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah, but I like the concept of that one. But what I am working on binge watching is Handmaid's Tale, because I saw both of the movies, the one from the 70s and the current one. Binge watching that one, and there's another one called The Flight Attendant.
You might like Manifest then. Have you seen Manifest?
Yeah, I did watch that one.
That one's a good one.
Yeah. So, Steven, you're not binge watching nothing, man?
No,
I'm not watching much right now.
No.
He has a life. We don't.
No, I don't. I don't.
Clear.
I did watch.
Is that what it is?
No, I don't. Not at all. I did watch like one of the 9/11 documentaries on Netflix. I did watch that over the past week, but.
Did you see the 9/11 with George Bush on? I think on.
Oh, with the children when he went to the class, when he was in the classroom and got notified.
Yeah, that one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember that scene. I don't know what it was. He had the look of freaking sheer terror in his face.
Yep,
he has the look that
can you imagine? Can you imagine being told something like that?
Ugh.
Yeah. Where were you all, and what were you all doing when that happened?
I was a freshman in high school, and I lived in Northern Virginia, so it's kind of close by. So we had a lot of kids in our school, not a lot of kids in our school who were like worried because they had a lot of parents who worked up in DC at the Pentagon and whatnot. So, but yeah, I remember somebody turned on the TV in one of our classes, and we all just kind of watched that for the rest of the day. Didn't do much.
Wow. How about you, Miss Crandall? Where were you?
You're gonna see how young I am. I was in preschool. I was actually in daycare. I don't remember any of it. I remember my mom putting us in the car, and that's pretty much it. I thought it was great. Didn't have to go to daycare that day.
We want pictures.
That hurts. That hurts.
We want pictures.
That's what I said. You're gonna age. You're gonna see how young I am.
Oh man.
Wow.
See?
I remember my mother calling me. I was working from home, and I remember my mother calling me. She said, "Did you see CNN?" I'm like, "No." She said, "You might want to turn on the channel and see that."
Yep.
And it was like, oh my God, what the heck is going on here? You know?
Well, now you turn the TV on nowadays and you say the same thing. What in the heck's going on here?
And believe it or not, I worked also. Yeah. I'm having a dogged time here trying to find my videos here. Let's see here. Okay. I'm gonna have to go somewhere where I haven't been in a while here to find a video. It's a perfect video, and it's short. It won't bore the heck out of you. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I guess this will be a part of the recording that
that pause, awkward moment of silence that everyone just stares at each other.
Yeah, I should have froze the recording. But I did not do that. So, all right, let's see here. Maryland, the state of Maryland. UMD, okay. Okay, all right. We're making progress here. Okay, videos. All right, here we go. Found it, but I had to dig in the, go in the basement, as they say. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in a 1968 speech where he reflects upon the civil rights movement, states, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." As a teacher, I've internalized this message. Every day, all around us, we see the consequences of silence manifest themselves in the form of discrimination, violence, genocide, and war. In the classroom, I challenge my students to explore the silences in their own lives in poetry. We work together to fill those spaces, to recognize them, to name them, to understand that they don't have to be sources of shame. In an effort to create a culture within my classroom where students feel safe sharing the intimacies of their own silences, I have 4 core principles posted on the board that sits in the front of my class, which every student signs at the beginning of the year. Read critically, write consciously, speak clearly, tell your truth. I find myself thinking a lot about that last point, tell your truth. And I realized that if I was going to ask my students to speak up, I was going to have to tell my truth and be honest with them about the times where I failed to do so. So I tell them that growing up as a kid in a Catholic family in New Orleans, during Lent, I was always taught that the most meaningful thing one could do was to give something up, sacrifice something you typically indulge in to prove to God who understands the sanctity. I've given up soda, McDonald's, French fries, French kisses, and everything in between. But one year, I gave up speaking. Figured the most valuable thing I could sacrifice was my own voice, but it was like I hadn't realized that I had given that up a long time ago. I had spent so much of my life telling people the things they wanted to hear instead of the things they needed to. Told myself I wasn't meant to be anyone's conscience because I still had to figure out being my own. So sometimes I just wouldn't say anything, appeasing ignorance with my silence, unaware that validation doesn't need words to endorse its existence. When Christian was beat up for being gay, I put my hands in my pocket and walked with my head down as if I didn't even notice. Couldn't use my locker for weeks because the bolt on the lock reminded me of the one I had put on my lips when the homeless man on the corner looked at me with eyes up, nearly searching for an affirmation that he was worth seeing. I was more concerned with touching the screen of my apple than actually feeding him one. When the woman at the fundraising gala said, "I'm so proud of you. It must be so hard teaching those poor, unintelligent kids," I bit my lip because apparently we needed her money more than my students needed their dignity. We spend so much time listening to the things people are saying that we rarely pay attention to the things they don't. Silence is the residue of fear. It is feeling your flaws, gut-wrench guillotine your tongue. It is the air retreating from your chest because it doesn't feel safe in your lungs. Silence is Rwandan genocide. Silence is Katrina. It is what you hear when there aren't enough body bags left. It is the sound after the noose is already tied. It is charring. It is chains. It is privilege. It is pain. There is no time to pick your battles when your battles have already picked you. I will not let silence wrap itself around my indecision. I will tell Christian that he is a lion, a sanctuary of bravery and brilliance. I will ask that homeless man what his name is and how his day was, because sometimes all people want to be is human. I will tell that woman that my students can talk about transcendentalism like their last name was Thoreau. And just because you watch one episode of The Wire doesn't mean you know anything about my kids. So this year, instead of giving something up, I will live every day as if there were a microphone tucked under my tongue, a stage on the underside of my inhibition. Because who has to have a soapbox when all you've ever needed is your voice?
Okay. This gentleman, his name is Clint Smith. And I always love this particular TED Talk as a good example because it embodies some of the things that I discussed. So without stealing the thunder, how did Mr. Smith open, in your opinion? Well, not in your opinion, but what did you notice about how Mr. Smith opened? Got his attention, got the audience attention.
I'm sorry, how he opened like the speech?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he opened it with the quote from Martin Luther King. So you knew kind of right off the bat that he was, to me, that, he was going to go into a topic that meant a lot to him and was something deep too, that had a lot of meaning to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I say his hand movements. His hand movements were very inviting of what he was saying. Like he was more engaging instead of just standing there just blah.
Right. And let me circle back to that, Ms. Crandall. But I want to go back to his opening, his verbal opening. And this was one of the points that I shared with you all. Story, quote, question, right? Stat, statement, right? Video, humor. That was one of the things that he did. And so again, that is the attention getter. That is how you get your audience. And let me say one thing about a quote. If you choose to use a quote, anybody, it doesn't matter whatever your topic is, learn that quote because it's so much more potent if you learn that quote versus reading that quote. Just kind of not the same, right? Now, let's talk about the verbal part of, I just want to dissect that in the opening, verbal, and then the non-verbal and things of that nature, just so that we can ensure that we all get it. And of course, those who are not here, they can get it. You all are kind of like teachers too tonight, if you hadn't noticed that. So let's talk about the verbal part of Mr. Smith. What did you notice about his verbal tenacity, if you will? Anyway.
What stuck out to me was his cadence at times. Like at certain points he was speaking not too quickly, but his pattern was really fast to kind of drive home points. And then at other times, he either took a pause or slowed down as a way to kind of make sure that the gravity of what he was saying was felt in the room. And that really stuck out to me because it was something like, I know in my speech personally, like I didn't really change the speed at which I was speaking at any point. I kind of kept it at a constant tempo, and easily saw how powerful it was there when he was kind of changing around the speed of what he was saying.
Mm-hmm. And so let's take that elevator pitch. I think along with sharing your information, you can pause and look like you're looking at this person and I having a conversation. Now, let me tell you how I can be beneficial to your firm.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes a difference. Any other comments? Okay. Now, keep in mind with all of this, verbal is only 20-30% of a presentation. Now let's go into the nonverbal part. Now, Ms. Grandel, you mentioned about his gestures.
His
Right?
gestures were really like inviting, and they were like, I wasn't bored kind of with his comments because they were still like inviting, and they kind of like attracted me to keep listening instead of like, well, why are you talking to me? Kind of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the power of that. There was another thing, a nonverbal part, and I'll give you a hint. It begins with a P in terms of his nonverbal communication as he was standing. I can't lay it out in there.
Oh, his posture, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. His posture was strong. He had strong posture. And he also I'll ask you this. Did he cite any sources, other sources that you may have noticed?
Now, I don't remember him citing a source. And he was using personal experiences, but I can't remember him citing a source. But
Okay, well, maybe it was more like an example versus a source when he talked about The Wire. You can't
The Wire, yeah.
watch one episode of The Wire and kind of get who I am or my student, And so, if you think about that, you talk about The Wire, I think subtly he was talking about maybe, I don't know, ethnic stereotype or whatever. Maybe, when he went there to that particular show. But, he touched on a lot of things. Now, did you hear any metaphors or figures of speech?
A lot. There was a lot of metaphors that he was using, kind of basically all throughout.
Yeah.
I can't remember one. There was one that I made note of while he was speaking. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they were really strong. The ones he was using really helped make his point, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ms. Crandall, does one come to mind for you?
The one that he was talking about, silence. Silence was like a way that someone wraps a noose around their neck and just pulls, and like there's a version in silence in that.
Yeah.
And it's like the way that he was saying, like he held his tongue, and when someone was pulling a noose, they were able to create silence.
That's right. Exactly. And he said something about the mic under his tongue as well.
Yeah.
How about giving, instead of messing around with his apple, he did it with his thumbs, but he could have gave that homeless man an apple.
Yeah, I think that might have been the one I was thinking of. The apple one.
Yeah. But you see, the thing of it is now you put all that together, it's kind of like putting different ingredients in a recipe. That made the perfect presentation. That made it had a little bit of everything in it. And I'm not saying someone has to do it like someone else, but you kind of get the gist to do your talk do you, your personality, because that's how you keep your audience attention. And this talk was only 3.5 minutes. And, you know, one thing I like to always do too, and the camera did a good job of doing it, was showing the audience reaction and how they were paying attention. You know, and I said, he's got their attention. I could tell by their body language and things of that nature. I mean, they were leaning on the table and, you know, all of that stuff. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I strongly urge, when you do your informative talk, when you start pulling this together, start putting things in there. Don't wait until it's time to post it. You can reach out to me between now and then and say, hey, Professor Golden, what you think? Also, I think in the demonstration, there's a section, I think, where you can post your link and get class reaction, you know, as well as my reaction. Okay, but nothing says that you can't reach out to me and get my thoughts on this. You know, so just some things to kind of keep in mind. And do you all feel that this was a reasonable example of a good informative talk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
actually made a lot more sense of like seeing it and like being able to like, I'm very hands-on, so I have to see it and experience it for me to understand, and it made sense.
Okay, all right. I will, I'll make that part of what I also share, not only for you to go back and reinforce, but also for those who are not here as well. So I'll work to have that together between now and later in the evening, or by tomorrow at the latest. So that's pretty much everything I have for you. Wasn't too painful, was it?
Not at all.
See, at least you all go get your dinner and put your feet up and everything. 30 minutes. I have about 19, 20 students here that's scheduled to go until 8:45.
What time do you go to sleep? Do you go to sleep?
Yeah, I try to get there. I get there because I like to get up in the morning and, you know, like 6 o'clock and get about 4 miles in. You know, I'm kind of stickler. If I don't get my rest, then I won't go, or I might do something else like weight, you know, do some weight training or whatever. But this whole weekend, I was tired. I don't know why. But it
Watching TV.
I can't blame it on partying.
All it is.
I can't blame it on partying. I wish I had that for an excuse. Okay. Anything else, class theorist? All right.
Nothing for me.
All right. Well, you are the best, and you all just keep going. But you know, you're not alone in this. I'm here with you. I'm here for you. Okay. So feel free to reach out. All right.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good
Thank you.
session. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a good one.
You
All
too.
right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.